Welcome, slaves, to the paycheck. This is Peter Goodall presenting another edition of Agile Project Management from INW1 Basecamp. Mission A to Z for CPOs, TPOs, HPOs, and 3 CPOs. Right, let's talk about estimating and ordering the product features. You've identified your product requirements and arranged those requirements into logical groups. Next, you estimate and order the requirements. So here are a couple of terms I want you to get familiar with. Effort is the ease or difficulty of creating a particular requirement. An estimate can be the number or description you use to express the estimated effort of the requirement. Estimating a requirement means to come up with an approximate idea of how easy or hard that requirement will be to create. Prioritizing a requirement means determining that requirement's value in relation to other requirements. And value means just how beneficial a particular product requirement might be to the organization creating the product. So let's talk about scoring requirement, value, and effort. So to order requirements, you must first estimate a score to represent the value and effort for each requirement. To order your requirements, you also want to know of any dependencies. Dependencies mean that one requirement is a predecessor for another requirement. Estimating requirements on value and effort is a key first step to ordering those requirements. So you work with two different groups to score your requirements. One, the product owner, with the support from the stakeholders, determines the value of the requirement to the customer and the business. Two, the development team determines the effort to create that requirement for each of the requirements. Scrum teams often use the Fibonacci sizing sequence for creating requirement scores. So the sequence is as follows: 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, and on and on and on. Now, when you are creating your product roadmap, your requirements will be on the feature scale, with most of them having effort scores from 55 to 144. Later, you break your features down to epic user stories with scores of no more than 13 to 34. Finally, when you start planning in sprints, your user stories should have effort scores of 1 to 8. Remember, it's the relative score, not the actual score, that matters. So, how do you calculate relative priority? So after you have your value and effort scores for the requirements, you can calculate the relative priority for each requirement. This helps you understand how one requirement relates to another in terms of value. Once you know the relative priority of your requirements, you can order them on your product roadmap. The formula is as follows when calculating relative priority: value divided by effort. I'll say it again: value divided by effort. Thus, if you have a requirement with a value of 89 and the effort is 55, the relative priority would be 1.62 rounded off to 2. So using this formula, 1, a requirement with a high value and low effort will have a high relative priority. For example, if the value is 144 and the effort is 3, the relative priority is 48. Number 2, a requirement with a low value and high effort will have a lower relative priority. For example, if the value is 2 and the effort is 89, the relative priority is 0.0224. And finally, the formula usually produces fractional results. If you want to round these to the nearest whole number, do so. Note, relative priority is only a tool to help the product owner make decisions and prioritize requirements. It is not a universal tool that needs to be followed. So prioritizing requirements. To determine the overall priority of your requirements, answer the following question: what is the relative priority of that requirement? Number 2, what are the prerequisites for any requirement? 3, what set of requirements belong together and will constitute a solid release? Using the answers to these questions, you will be able to place the highest priority requirements first in the product roadmap. Your prioritized list of user stories is called a product backlog. This is an important Agile artifact which will be used throughout the project. With a product backlog in hand, you can start adding target releases to your product roadmap. My quote for today: I was married by a judge. I should have asked for a jury. Finally, all my podcasts are for free, so if you're feeling generous, help me get up Everest. Visit www.2nh.com and helped me live my dream whilst raising £250,000 for Mind and NSBCC. Signing out, this is Peter Goodall, aka the Agile Goat, and his Yorkie Poo. Have a great one.